Good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery with IIMFL and Smart Money Alliance. Want to take a couple minutes just to get you familiar with our new Small Business Virtual Incubator. There is a flyer that you're looking at here on the screen. You'll see that we have a web page on our IIMFL, our 501c3 website, but wanted to give you a quick overview of what this is all about, why it's relevant. And keep in mind, frankly, there's two ways that this could be relevant to you. If you have a small business or you're thinking about starting a small business, you want to access capital, then what you and I both know is we need to meet the credibility standards of the lenders. If we meet those credibility standards, what happens? We get funded. If we don't meet those credibility standards, we often are not funded or not funded for as much. So that's scenario one, why this may be relevant. And then also, while we have just opened our first incubator, we're going to be opening a number of them across the country. And so if you're interested in maybe managing one of our virtual incubators in your community, this could be relevant to you as well. Okay, so the concept, and let's start with the quote from Entrepreneur Magazine. It says, business incubators are organizations geared towards speeding up the growth and success of startup and early stage businesses. So it's providing the mentoring, the capital, the resources to be able to have a successful small business. Now, who we're looking to participate in our incubator are early stage entrepreneurs that are seeking to position their business to have increased credibility, to access capital. And we're going to talk about some of those credibility standards. What we've seen, I used to work for the SBA, used to be a SCORE mentor, used to be a college professor. And so through all those experiences, what I found is many small businesses are missing the basics, the foundational elements to be perceived as being credible. And so it's not that they as an individual is not credible, but they've not positioned their business to be credible. So we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Now, again, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. You can verify that. We can verify that for you. So this is set up to be a very, very affordable and, of course, effective solution for small businesses. There is a refundable deposit that they're going to pay up front, because what we're offering to do is literally absorb the costs of getting their business set up. And we'll talk about those details in just a moment. And then it's set up just $99 payments. If you want to Google some and research how incubators work, many incubators take an ownership stake in the small businesses that they help grow. We're not doing that. So instead of asking for ownership, which is often 5 to 10% ownership, we don't ask for any ownership, but we have to offset our expenses. Even as a 501c3, as they say, no money, no mission. Now, the good thing is, as we've recently talked about in some of our other trainings, while the market has been constrained due to the pandemic, it's starting to open up. Sources of capital are now more available than they were. And one of those is a business credit card under the EIN, no personal guarantee, up to $10,000. And so in many cases, we can use that type of short-term, quick hit, quick access to capital to help fund the small businesses startup with us in the incubator. You might ask, well, where's this word virtual come in? Why is that? Well, there are two types of incubators. There are those that are physical, that have the shared workspace where you pay more and you get a desk and you get a phone and so forth. And then the emerging trend is towards virtual incubators, because more and more people are working from home. And then by having a virtual incubator, it's accessible regardless of where you are. You could be in Anchorage, Alaska, Miami, Florida, Dallas, Texas, it wouldn't matter. So our model is we've set up our first virtual incubator, which I'll discuss with you in a moment, and then we're setting up additional virtual incubators across the country. What is relevant is the address, because one of the important elements, and we're talking about here the second bullet, one of the important elements of being credible is having a true commercial business address. And so this isn't really about my opinion, and frankly, it's not about your opinion, it's about fact. And so when a small business has a true business address, they look more credible in the eyes of lenders. I'm not here to say that all lenders and all sources of capital require that. That's not true. But because we know different sources of capital have different underwriting criteria. But what we do know is the more credibility factors we have, the more access to capital that we have. So a best practice is to not use your home address. It's to not use a post office box. And quite frankly, it's not to use a virtual office that's a shared address. You can go to some very good companies, and I won't speak negative of anyone or anything, but you can go to some very good companies like Regus, R-E-G-U-S. You can pay them a couple $100s a month to get some basic services, including an address that you can use. But beware, that address is often used by dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of other small businesses. So don't be so naive to think, oh, just because I have a business address, I can check that box. Unless it's a unique business address, it is not credible, or not as credible as you probably want it to be. So that's why in our model, each participant in our incubator has a unique address, meaning a unique suite. We lease the entire floor of a building. Therefore, everyone has their own designated suite numbers. Okay, so moving on to other elements of what's included and why it's relevant, because I want this to be a quick educational message, even if you don't want to put your business in our incubator. Even if you don't want to help us run an incubator in your community, it's important that you understand these elements. We have a video that many of you probably have watched called 27 Mistakes. You can go to 27mistakes.org. And it was developed long before this incubator concept came to fruition, but it gives you a really nice overview of what you need to know to look credible. Okay, so in our incubator model, here's what we're doing. We're going to actually file with the Secretary of State. We're going to pay the fees to file and form the business entity. And that business entity is going to be filed with the address of the incubator, because it's crucial that all addresses match to be credible. The address that you have on file with your state, with the IRS for the EIN, which we'll get to in just a second, with your bank, on your website, consistent matching addresses is crucial. And again, those addresses should not be a PO box. Those addresses should not be a residential address. Those addresses, or that address, I guess singular, should not be a virtual office that's a shared suite number. That's the kiss of death. So we're going to help you set up your business, and we'll absorb the filing fees. We're going to pay for that. And then also we'll help you obtain the EIN, and there is no filing fees for that, of course, but we'll help you get that business set up on the right footing. Now you might say, well, I already have some of this. Well, if it's all set up correctly, we can visit and see if we can still accept you into the incubator. But in most cases, it would be better for us to start a new business together for you that's perfectly clean. Because quite frankly, it can take a lot of effort and time and energy to go clean up messy records. Often it's easier to start from scratch, but we can discuss that offline. So as I mentioned, we're going to provide you a unique commercial address. You'll have a unique suite number. Now, we're all on the second floor. I'm sitting in the second floor of our building now. It's real. It's a 100-year-old building. It's a historically designated building, but you will have your own suite number. That meets the criteria we're looking for. Now, you're not coming here to work, so because it's virtual, so we will forward your mail to you once a week at no charge. So the mail will be bundled up and sent to you, so you're receiving that. Now, another credibility factor that's important for accessing capital is having a business phone number. You should have an official business phone number. And my friends, it can't be a cell phone number. Phone numbers are coded just like addresses, right? We can't pretend that our home address is a business address because it's not coded as such in the database that they check. If you're using a cell phone number as your official business number, that is another knock against your credibility. So we're going to provide a true business phone number that's listed with directory assistance. Now, that phone number can be forwarded wherever you want it to be forwarded to, including to your cell phone. See, I'm not saying that you can't work from home. I'm not saying that you can't use your cell phone for business. I'm saying that we need to look more credible. So to the outside world, we need to have a business address, which was the prior point, and then a business phone number. We'll provide that for free. We need to have a website. We're going to pay for the URL to get a website registered for you, like yourcompany.com. We will set up a basic website at no cost. We're going to set you up a branded email, so like your name at yourcompany.com for free. It is grossly irresponsible for us to try to conduct a business using a Gmail or a Yahoo or an American Online email address. It doesn't look professional, and it certainly is not going to help our access to capital. We need to have a professional appearance, have the credibility of being a real business. This becomes extraordinarily important as we're trying to leverage sources of capital that don't use your personal credit, because your personal credit reflects how you've taken care of your personal affairs. Whenever we can, we want to separate business and personal. Well, if we take the personal out, all we have is left is the business. That's why these elements are extraordinarily important if we're trying to access capital just under the EIN, because this is all they have to go by. If they say, oh, well, you've got a real business address, you've got a real business phone number that's listed with directory assistance, you have a website that's consistent with all these things, your addresses match with the federal government, the state, your bank, and so forth, then that adds credibility. You can see why that's important. And again, I said it earlier, I'll say it again, not all sources of capital have the same underwriting criteria, but certainly this approach establishes best practice. We're going to obviously need a business bank account. Now, when you open a business bank account, as you've heard us probably mentioned before, it's important that you open it with a bank that knows you, that talks to you, that you don't call a 1-800 number that's answered in some third world country and you hope and pray. For instance, look at the small businesses that received PPP funding earlier this year and those that didn't. We did. If you had an established, credible bank relationship, getting those PPP funds were relatively straightforward, simple, and fast. If you didn't, oh my gosh, you're just trying to find some bank that might take your application and push you somewhere towards the first 100,000 on the list. So we have a local business banker that is agreeing to work with the members of our incubator to be your personal banker, which is awesome. That's a big deal. That increases access to capital. We must have a CPA relationship. We cannot grow a business and think that we're not going to need a CPA unless you're already a CPA. We're going to have to file taxes. We need to do tax planning. We're going to need to be able to reconcile our bank accounts. And so even if you're really crafty with numbers, every business, small, medium, large, needs to have a CPA relationship. We have a CPA firm that has agreed to work with our incubator clients. True CPA firm, the real deal, that's going to be a resource for you. And also, businesses really need to have access to legal counsel. Let's say that you have a client that doesn't pay you, someone that's going to write collection letters, someone that's going to review contracts for you. So there's some basic advisors, we'll call them, that every small business should have and many don't have. So we'll help you get those set up. We're going to also for free provide you QuickBooks. We commonly see this when we're asking small businesses, okay, please provide us your interim financials, which means profit and loss and or income statement and a balance sheet. And a lot of them are like, I don't have that, or I don't even know what that means. I'm not being negative towards them. Well, we need to be managing our revenue and expenses properly. And so since there is a problem there, we're going to actually buy QuickBooks for you. We're going to pay. Notice we're paying for a lot of things. We're paying for your filing fees. We're paying for your address. We're paying to forward your mail. We're paying for your phone number. We're paying to get you a URL reserved. We're paying for your website. We're paying for your email address. Now, frankly, we're not paying for your bank account, but we are paying for your QuickBooks. Now, next, we need to build your business credit profile. Different sources of capital have different underwriting criteria. One of our favorite sources of capital, and we just had one of Will Hicks' clients fund on Friday, are SBA loans. SBA lenders and loans are a bit of a different beast. You have to be a little bit more compliant to qualify. So having a commercial lease that you can provide them is a prerequisite. And that lease can't be a month-to-month virtual office. They will disqualify you if your lease doesn't even match their criteria. We know what those requirements are. My point is with building business credit, it's going to allow you to start to more fully separate personal finances from business, but we have to meet the credibility standards as I referenced. And so we're going to help you build out your business credit profile. We're talking about like Dun & Bradstreet, Experian Business, Equifax Business. We're going to help you add trade lines. We're going to even get you, or at least attempt to get you, a business MasterCard very quickly. The business MasterCard is EIN only, no personal guarantee, up to a $10,000 credit limit. But again, we have to qualify. Now, there's not many requirements for that business credit card, but we have to be credible. And so that's what we've really created with this incubator model. And so again, we will work with participants in the incubator, and that's a key function of incubators in general, is raising capital. Now, a lot of incubators focus very much on angel investors, equity type of investors, where you're selling part of your business to raise money. And so in that case, we can do that, but many of our clients prefer not to dilute their ownership, but instead would prefer to use debt-based capital, other people's money. They leverage it, they pay it back, they make a profit off of that. So we're guaranteeing everyone that participates in the incubator to have at least $100,000 capital raise. One other point I'll mention here before I close is that geographically, there are some unique funding sources. So in East Texas, where we're at, where our first incubator is formed, we have access to a couple unique funding sources, one of which is called Chapman. And Chapman's only available if your business is formed in a certain number of counties in East Texas, which of course we're part of. That is really valuable in terms of being able to get a loan from a nonprofit economic organization up to $250,000. And so you can see what we're doing is really positioning the incubator clients for a successful capital raise. There are other sources of capital that are geographic specific too. So with that being said, you have a couple options here. If you are interested in participating in the virtual incubator, you will simply go apply on our website here, iimfl.org/incubator. If you don't want to participate in the incubator for whatever reason, we can pay you to help us help small businesses. And so you can refer small businesses to this page. We'll do all these things that we just discussed, and we'll pay you over $1,000 per referral that goes through the incubator process. Lastly, if you want to collaborate, we can set up incubators together. We're in the process of setting up incubators in about 50 different markets across the country. If you're interested in being one of those, incubator partners, then we'll set one up together. We're able to duplicate the infrastructure we have. And yours doesn't have to be nonprofit, ours is. It's perfectly fine for you to have a for-profit incubator that we essentially joint venture on. And we do that through what we call our branch manager program. So with that being said, thank you for your time. And we certainly look forward to talking to you on a one-on-one basis. Have a good day.